Silas is my guest, the National Executive Vice President of the Public Service Alliance of Canada, known as PSAC. Alex, thanks for taking time for CTV News. Great to have you with us today.
Hi, Todd. Thanks for having me.
All right, so your take on this, were you expecting it? I mean, we heard something was coming here, but what do you make of it now we know what's going on?
I think this is a disastrous budget for the federal public service, for workers in the federal public certainly, but also for Canadians. You know, our primary concern, of course, is our members' jobs. But just like our members in their jobs are concerned for the Canadian public, we also at PSAC are concerned for the Canadian public, and they're going to suffer because of these cuts, because they're going to have less access to the services from the federal public service that they rely on. So I'm thinking of new parents who are going to have a harder time accessing their child benefits. I'm thinking of an auto worker that might have lost their job because an auto plant shut down because of the tariff war with the states. Now they're going to have a harder time accessing EI benefits and getting questions answered about that. So this is, you know, Carney ran on a platform of strengthening Canada. Weakening Canada's public service is not the way to do that. So this is a bad budget.
The cuts will largely come from either retirement or not replacing workers who leave voluntarily, Alex. Does that make a difference?
Not really. I mean, look, even if it's by attrition or early retirement, you're still cutting those jobs, right? That person leaves, that job doesn't get replaced. So that's an increased workload on the workers that are left over, who are already overworked in a lot of cases. And it eliminates that opportunity for the future workforce, for Canadians in the future generations that are going to be looking for good jobs. Those jobs won't exist anymore. And let's not forget that the federal public service often sets the standard for other sectors as well. And having less workforce, even if it's by attrition, once you eliminate those posts and they don't come back, that's also going to reduce the ability of the public service to provide quality service to Canadians.
There is a perception by some, and I know you are aware of it, Alex, that the federal civil service under Justin Trudeau became bloated. A lot of jobs that were perhaps not affordable, or that Canada shouldn't be paid. Taxpayers are on the hook for that. I wonder whether you have any take on that, and what you'd like to say to people who say, you know what, it's too many workers, time to cut.
Yeah, we needed those jobs. We needed that support. When we were in the pandemic, Canadians needed a strong, resilient public service at every level: federal, territorial, provincial, municipal. And the public service was there for Canada. We are still living in times of crisis. We are in a tariff war crisis. We are in an affordability crisis, a housing crisis, a job loss crisis. And Canadians need a resilient social safety net provided by the federal public service to support them through these times. The federal public service and the workers, the PSAC members that are there day in, day out, supporting Canadians, good time and bad. Canadians need that strong federal public service to rely on.
You're saying it's a disastrous and terrible budget. I wonder, are you considering options about possible labor showdown over this?
Well, look, I mean, certainly we are going to be putting pressure on politicians. I think a lot of Liberal MPs here in the National Capital Region, which is a predominantly Liberal region federally, they're going to have some really tough questions to answer from their constituents. I think Liberal MPs in communities across the country, like my home, New Brunswick, where there are a lot of Liberal MPs, where there's also a lot of communities who count on federal public service jobs, they're going to have to answer to the constituents, why are you cutting my job? And I think, you know, on the other pieces in the budget, we are going to ensure that our right to strike and our right to collective bargaining is respected, and that the language in our contract, in our collective agreement, is respected. Mark Carney might not be used to working in a unionized environment, but the federal public service is a union shop, and we're going to make sure that our contract is respected.
Alex Silas joining us with the Public Service Alliance of Canada, PSAC, with his take. Thanks for this, Alex. Great to see you.
Thanks for having me.